Welcome to your Soul Astrology Energy of the Week for May 25th. I'm Power Coach Alicia, and I am looking forward to rocking this out with you. So, this week is all about building stability after the Taurus New Moon and the identity shifts that are happening in self leadership with Saturn entering Aries. Now, Aries is a fire sign, Saturn is fire, but Saturn is different than Mars because Saturn is like demanding, move slow, and requires you to learn the lesson. And Mars is like, let's go, let's move, let's make it happen. It doesn't matter. If it gets fucked up, we'll clean it up along the way, right? So there's kind of this push pull between, but I think that with Saturn and Aries, it gives you the opportunity to slow down and take bold initiative action that actually lasts in learning lessons and transformation. And so it's a big week again, still for visibility and communication and momentum, because we still have that Gemini energy here, and you're refining what actually feels sustainable mentally, emotionally, and financially. And literally, I'm feeling this Gemini energy so strong. I'm a lot in my head, which has a whole bunch of ideas and processing a lot through. And then I'm remembering to drop into my body and like really stabilize and make the decision in a very solid manner on how to move forward. And what this does is it helps expand your future vision, because coming up, there's the Sagittarius Full Moon coming. So this shift from forcing your life into building from alignment is what's happening this week, and really learning what your nervous system can actually hold in soul, wealth, and relationships. So with that information, we are going to run through the week. Like I said, this is your Soul Astrology Energy of the Week for May 25th. And so today, May 25th, is the Taurus New Moon integration. So the energy you have right now is from May 16th, and it's still setting the energetic foundation for this entire week, right? So this energy is about stability and embodiment, self-worth, that sustainability, that groundedness, and being in alignment. So your collective lesson this week is to build from nervous system safety. If it feels good, move. If it doesn't, don't. If it feels good, the answer is yes. If it doesn't, the answer is no, right? And there, a layer to this is the energy that you have to give, your capacity, and what your battery level is as well. So this is really rooted momentum and sustainable recalibration and long-term alignment energy. So this week is all about energy codes. So we're running the astrology weather through the energy codes, what chakra it is in your soul, wealth, and relationships through all the transits going on this week. Last week, we focused on the laws of the universe being ran through the Soul Astrology Energy of the Week. This week, it's your energy codes being ran through the Soul Astrology Energy of the Week for soul, wealth, and relationships. So the energy code this week is your root chakra, calling in stability and safety. And it really activates grounded embodiment, nervous system regulation, and sustainable expansion. So what you're like being called into today is your foundation determines what you can hold. So if you have a shaky foundation in soul, wealth, or relationships, then what you can hold is not going to be very much. So when we look at soul, the light side of this is grounded self-trust and emotional stability, feeling into yourself and what's going on and making powerful decisions from that point. Like, you see me do this a lot because this is your chakra, your energy center, your alignment center, right? That is what's going on. If this feels in alignment and flow, in rhythm, calibrated, then you are grounded in self-trust and emotional stability, and you're ready to move and make powerful decisions. But if you're feeling fear and a lack of security and like scarcity and resistance, then you're being called to slow down, to ground into your self-trust and your emotional stability, right? So it's paying attention to that. If your nervous system is firing at the gut level, that's your lower chakra levels. And this week is calling you in to aligning those and doing work around those. But if you're feeling it in your heart and in your chest, that's your heart chakra, feeling unloved, disconnected, not good enough, your worthiness wound and how people view you and what your worth is. And if it's in your throat, hey, it's time to speak up. It's time to say some shit. It's time to stand in your power. It's time to use your fucking voice, right? So today in wealth is building sustainable momentum and aligned systems, right? That's the goal. But if you're chasing urgency instead of standing in that stability, that's the shadow of this and where you're being called forth. And then also in relationships today, and again, we're still talking about this Taurus energy. Remember, the energy hangs around for a couple weeks. And so this is the second week of the new moon in Taurus, of the stability, the groundedness, and the consistency. So the light side of this is emotional reliability around grounded connection in your relationship. It feels good. You can depend on them. They can emotionally hold you, right, in your quality relationships. But if you're in the shadow, then you're really intense on seeking instead of sinking to that consistency and that movement. Also today, Saturn is in Aries. And so that's kind of like one of the things that I was opening up talking about, the difference between Saturn and Mars. And so this energy is one of the biggest shifts of 2026. So I want you to lean in. It's more like a portal, right? Saturn moving into Aries today begins a completely new cycle around your identity, your leadership, your independence, your courage, your self-definition, how you show up for yourself, how you honor yourself, how you carry yourself, and that courage to step forward and be who the fuck you are, no matter what someone else thinks, right? So this energy with Saturn moving into Aries is saying, who are you becoming when no one is rescuing you anymore? But another layer to that is like, who are you becoming when you're no longer rescuing everyone and getting your validation from there? So the energy code around this portion of Saturn and Aries is like your solar plexus. We're still in that lower chakra. That's your personal power and your self-leadership. And this transit of Saturn moving into Aries is really activating disciplined confidence. Yeah, be confident, but ground in the discipline of what it is you're doing in that confidence, and building your identity up in a way that is really empowering for you and really connected to you, and something that you are excited about and that you're proud of, and embodying your power and your leadership. I can feel this movement of this energy going, and the Taurus New Moon energy swirling around me of new beginnings and how I show up and how I move. And the lesson here is that your true power comes from your self-trust and being in that feminine energy. So when we're looking at Saturn and Aries as it pertains to the soul, in the light side of that, it's grounded self-leadership and aligned courage. Like, you're in it, you're moving, it feels good, and you're moving in that rhythm because you have that confidence behind it. But if it's in the shadow, then you're feeling that like masculine energy, the pushing and pressure and the force and the must do, should do, have to, and you're kind of like shoving yourself into molds before they're embodied. That's going to cause a collapse for you. And when you're looking at wealth, the light side of it is discipline, long-term growth, and sustainable leadership. Like the way you're showing up, what you're doing, you're like, fucking A, this is it. I am being pulled and called, and I had these downloads into launching the Soul Astrology in-person containers. And, you know, I feel so like, okay, this is a long-term vision of what I'm doing. As I step into this, this is going to be at least a year commitment in the launch of it. But this is what my long-term growth looks like in my connection. And this is where I'm building a movement that's going to explode, to where I'm doing speaking events and breakout sessions, room full of thousands of people, and from this like leadership perspective that is totally sustainable for me, something that I absolutely love. Now, the challenge here is impatience with the results and reactive business decisions. I noticed that today I was in a meeting with Crystal, my teammate that works with me, and it's just like, oh, we're all over the place and all these ideas and everything going on, and it's like, we need to be grounded. What are we missing? What do we need to do? Like, we want these results, we want to change these lives, but what are we missing to get to that stage that's going to give us that? And in relationships, the light side of Saturn and energy is healthier boundaries and mature partnership dynamics. And so it's being able to create those boundaries, enforce those boundaries, stand in that energy while giving the space for the other person or people to choose to rise up or not, and what they're going to do. But the shadow of that is that power struggle and that hyper independence, and forcing people to do things on your timeline and your movement, and who's right, who's wrong, and who do you agree with, who do you disagree with, who's to blame, who's not, like all of those things. And like, so fuck it, I'll just do it all on my own. I don't fucking need you, right? So that's the shadow of Saturn and Aries, and being very mindful, because you'll probably come back and go, you know, I really didn't mean that. I'm just struggling with this. And like I said at the beginning, Saturn demands learning the lessons and breaking through something, and Saturn will remain there and erode that until you move. Now, if you hadn't noticed, the way that I use astrology for your soul healing, your wealth building, and building deeply fulfilling relationships, it's esoteric astrology, that soul astrology, and that's where I created and coined the name for myself, soul astrologist, as well as soul astrology. So as we move into tomorrow, May 26th, the moon moves into Libra. Libra is all about justice, fairness, balance, equality, but also nice things, beauty, things that feel good, aesthetics. Ruled by the planet of Venus is romance and love relationships. And you've got all of that going on. And so what the energy is that Libra is bringing in tomorrow is your emotional field softens into connection and balance and harmony. And this is amazing because it's helping you reconnect in honor of yourself, reconnect while you're in rhythm. And so Libra's all about, like I said, relationships and peace and diplomacy and emotional balance. And that's what Libra is ushering in for you this week. And so the energy that Libra is bringing to tomorrow is your heart chakra, right? Harmony and emotional balance. That's really the energy focus. And this transit activates emotional reciprocity. So what you're giving, you receive. Remember, balancing that out, how you show up, how they show up, that softness and that relational awareness. And so peace requires honesty. Honesty in your business, your relationships, your communication, what you're doing, how you're moving. That is really, really, really important. So when we look at the Libra energy here, the light side is emotional balance and softness and inner peace. And just like I said, moving to your own rhythm and your alignment. The shadow here, though, is indecision and prioritizing external harmony over your internal truth. Remember, if whatever you're doing externally is being prioritized, you're suffering from that. It's always from the inside out, not from the outside in. So keep that in mind. And as it pertains to your wealth, and the Libra energy here is the light side is your aligned collaborations and magnetic relationship building, where the shadow that could be ushering here in the relationship with Libra is people pleasing, right? Especially in business, and avoiding necessary decisions. What is it that is really meant to be done? Where are you really being called forward in your business? What are the necessary decisions that you're being called to make so that you can shift, grow, evolve, compound your income so that you can exceed your income goals? Inside of the Queendom, we're doing work around this, right? Everything in the Queendom is designed to help you here. The premium level, every week we're meeting for a love camp, a wealth camp, a soul camp, right? We've got the weekly soul astrology energies of the week, but there's so much going on in the Queendom to help you, because we are here to help you align with your birth chart, soul wealth, and relationship blueprint. So we're always leading back to the birth chart in some way, form, or fashion. And so with Libra here, the shadow is conflict avoidance and losing yourself to keep the peace. If you can hear my dogs barking, I apologize for that. Someone just got home here, so it's a little wild, and keeping that peace, right? So Libra's shadow is losing their self for the quote unquote greater good of the relationships in their quality world. And that can be misconstrued because it's like wearing that as a badge of honor. But the problem is that is sacrificing you and your soul. As we move into Wednesday, May 27th, you're looking at the Gemini energy fully activating. And as we've talked about, you've got it fully online because you've got, with both Mercury and the Sun in Gemini at the same time that we were talking about last week, communication, movement, visibility, networking, everything is moving at the speed of light. You're learning your expression. And so this becomes fast moving, socially active, mentally stimulating energy. So when you're looking at the energy codes of this, you've got your throat chakra expressing that communication. So this transit is activating the visibility and how you show up and how you move and how you interact, and your truth through communication and energetic expansion through expression, right? It's calling that forward. It's calling you forward. And it's really going to demand that you learn this. You speak up, you find your voice, you say what you need, what you're for, what you're not for. And the thing here and the lesson here is that your voice creates momentum. So when you're looking at this in your soul, right, the light side of this is creative expression and curiosity and mental expansion. And it feels good and you feel open and you feel blooming and you feel really expansive, right? But the shadow is more restrictive and scattered thinking and all over the place and being taken one way or the other and nervous system stimulation. So if you notice that you just feel like that kind of energy, you know that you're in the shadow of this for your soul and it's time to ground into the Taurus energy that's here. Now, the light side of this Gemini energy really being in full force with Mercury and the Sun, aligning in Gemini is a really increased visibility, communication, momentum, and opportunities as it pertains to your business. If you're paying attention, if you're connecting to it, and if you're utilizing that energy. And so the challenge here in the shadow of this is inconsistent focus and fragmented execution. I was just sharing how I almost fragmented my business and executed things all over the place because this Gemini energy is impacting me already at a very deep level. And it was like, ooh, pull back, ground into not only my Taurus sun sign, my Mercury and Taurus energy, but the new moon and Taurus energy to stabilize here. And so the light side of what this Gemini energy brings to relationships is playfulness and communication and fun and stronger intellectual communication. So you might notice that you're talking a lot more with your partner, having a lot more conversations than you were, but also having a lot more fun and connectivity. That's Gemini. Gemini is the child of the zodiac that brings the fun and the excitement and the variations and the variety to life. Now, the challenge though that the Gemini brings in the shadow, especially for relationships, is surface level interaction and emotional disconnected communication. What I mean by that is just the constant conversation that's on surfacey shit that doesn't really matter. Geminis can talk for days and hours about shit that literally does not matter. Now, if you talk to the Gemini, they say, oh my gosh, it matters, right? There's this running joke with my partner, Daniel. It's like, you are full of so much useless information. And he says, yeah, it's useless until it's useful, right? So that's always his response to that. Geminis know a lot about a lot of things. They're usually the term, the jack of all trades and the master of none, that would be a Gemini. They're all over the place, all these ideas and creative and the this and the that. And they know how to do a lot. They know a lot about a lot, but they don't really do a lot of applying it. They're also very rhythmic people who almost kind of stay in the same things while adding these extra varieties along the way because they need that variety. So coming up on May 30th, you have the Virgo moon refinement energy starting to creep in. And what this means is things start to slow down enough so that you can actually calibrate. You can sync and find the rhythm with the Virgo moon energy coming up, because remember what I said, Gemini is moving really fast, everything's going. Virgo slows down, it's an earth sign, more methodical, systematic, structural. Virgos will kind of wait and view and then move from there, right? So you've got refinement and organization of systems and simplifying things, clarity around things that might have been chaotic, and then practicality in how you align. So with this energy, you might find what actually works for sustainability, right? That's what you're looking for or connecting to in this Virgo moon energy that's coming in. Now, the energetic code here is root chakra again. So throughout this week, we're moving through your root chakra, your solar plexus, your heart, right? Stability and grounded structure comes straight from Virgo, because Virgo is an earth sign. So this transit activates organization and nervous system regulation and grounded refinement. So the lesson here that Virgo is bringing here is the moon is moving into Virgo, is stability creates expansion. Right? So when we look at this in your soul energy, the light side of this that Virgo is bringing is grounded clarity and internal calibration. So again, if you've got that scatteredness going on, you're all over the place, you have all of these ideas, everything seems exciting, and oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Virgo comes in as fucking focus and calibrate so that you can move. Now, the shadow side of this is getting into perfectionism and hyperfixation on what doesn't work, the flaws, the disconnectedness. And again, we're in the soul. So you're looking at the flaws of yourself and you're trying to be perfect and you're pushing yourself to these levels after all the chaoticness. Now it's like, okay, time to go to work, all this shit, all these things that you need to do, get your shit together and move. So be very mindful. It's grounded clarity and intentional calibration. And if you're in the shadow, remember, it's perfectionism and really expecting yourself to, what I say, reach these unfair expectations. And that's a really big signature of Virgo. Now, when you're looking at Virgo in wealth, the light side of it is strong systems, organization, refined execution. Very powerful after you had all of these ideas and all of these downloads and these things that you can do with your business and where you go. Like I said, I launched my Soul Astrology in-person ecosystem at like the drop of a hat because that Gemini energy was flowing, right? So as I move into this week and I'm in my grounded energy and I'm in the wilderness, I'm using this Virgo energy to, okay, how can I refine this? How can I make it stronger? How can I organize it while being in rhythm with myself, honoring myself, and moving in that energy, right? Now, in wealth, the shadow is overanalyzing instead of moving forward. So you can get caught in, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. I love this. I'm so excited. And then all of a sudden you're like, when you throttle in, you throttle down, you're like, I don't know because of this. What about that? Oh my gosh. And I already did that. I was like, I don't know if I should do this. What if that messes with my rhythm? What if it messes with my calibration? What if I'm not in my flow? What if I'm not in alignment? What if it disconnects me? Oh my God. But listen, I know that this is where I'm being called because I woke up and I got the download. But I didn't get the download today of this in-person connection and energy. I have been building an in-person like tribe for fucking 14 years. Okay. So it's just now that it all came together, it synced and it made sense. And now it's to get that in rhythm. So when you're looking at this Virgo moon energy in your relationships, it's bringing in healthier habits and intentional repair work. So it's going to slow you down to get clear, be a little bit more logical, but now you can create healthier habits with your partner, people in your quality world, and repair things from a less emotional state, grounded in stability. Now, if you're in the shadow, what will actually kick up is nitpicking and criticism and emotional overprocessing. And what that looks like is, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Why did they do that? How do they feel? How do they think about this? Da, 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 da. Keep in mind that the best way to know what's going on in your partner's mind is to ask, right? Be mindful about deciding or thinking about it for them, ahead of time, and then moving in that energy based on the information that was all in, in your head where you didn't even find out where they were in theirs. So then wrapping this week on May 31st is the Sagittarius New Moon, and the energy that Sagittarius brings is expansion and fun and adventure. Adventure, right? Truth and movement and perspective shift starts to come in. When you think of Sagittarius, I want you to think of like freedom and growth and vision and possibility, as well as belief systems. So the energy that this full moon is bringing is, what future are you finally ready to believe is possible for you? And I always like to say on the full moons, it's a great time to release anything. Release the chains that bind, right? Release the past that you hold to. Release the things, the BS, the bullshit / belief systems that you're holding on to that are keeping you trapped. You know, Sagittarius in this full moon is like, release all the shit that's binding you so that you can have that freedom and that liberation and the growth and the possibility, and shift the areas of your belief system and stand in your truth so that you can feel fucking free. So the energetic code here is the third eye chakra, your vision, your higher truth, your higher self, opening that up so you can hear and feel and have an expanded perspective and a future vision of what you're going to do, and use your intuition and the truth of that intuition in order to lead you there. So what Sag is really saying in this full moon is your vision expands your reality. And what I'm saying is the smaller your vision is, the more limited your reality is. And the bigger your vision is, obviously, the bigger your reality is. And the bigger that you can think and be and open and allow, the universe has so many more conduits and paths that it can bring to you what it is that you truly crave. And now we're going to look at that through your soul wealth, your relationships, and what you really crave there. So when you have The Sag energy with your soul, the power and the excitement of that is that expanded vision for yourself, that expanded purpose for yourself, and your spiritual growth starts to happen here. And with spiritual expansion comes expansion in every other area of your life. However, if you're in the shadow side of it, you've got escapism and avoiding. And I always say anything that is avoided destroys. So it's hitting it head on, it's facing it head on, it's giving the attention head on so that you can use whatever that is in order to grow. So if you're an avoidant person, if you are a crab, right, a Cancer in the most important parts of your chart, what you're going to find is avoidance is your default mode, right? Bury your head in the sand, go in your little shell. And then what that does is all those things that are avoiding are actually fucking destroying you. So being in that light gives you that expansion. Looking at the Sagittarius energy as it pertains to your wealth are bigger opportunities, expansion, long-term vision here as well, right? If you're honoring that and allowing that energy to usher in that expansion. And I'm looking at and I'm holding space for, is this expansion of my soul astrology in-person ecosystem going to be the dominant part of what I do? And then my online world is going to hold that? Or is it going to stay the way that it is, where the online world is the core and the in-person is just part of what feeds that, right? That's the bigger opportunity. That's the expansion. That's the long-term vision that I am allowing and open to the energies, and currently this energy, the Sag energy, leading me to. Now, the shadow side of that is impulsive risk and unrealistic expectation. So I could go nuts thinking, oh yeah, my in-person business, I could do it all. It can hold me all. I could do this and I could do that. I have, 2 events a week and and I'm going to make this much money, and then collapse myself and burn out because I have these unrealistic expectations and I took these impulsive risks with my time, my energy, my attention. So the Sagittarius energy in relationships on the light side of it brings in honest connection and shared growth and beautiful future vision. I would say it's a great time to sit with your partner and create a vision board and what you want to create, what you want to do, or a plan for projects or things like that you want to create together that creates more like home, like rewind, creates more growth and connection in your home, while also having conversations with each other about like what you want and where you see things going and how they are for each other. It's so beautiful. The thing that I find are people are so scared of like, oh, what if I have the conversation and it's bad, or they don't like it, or we get in an argument or whatever. I always say conflict gives you information so that you can grow together, right? So if you're avoiding having the conversations because you're worried that it's going to bring conflict, the avoidance is creating destruction anyways. So like embrace the conflict to have the beauty. That's what I'm saying. And then the shadow side of it is that emotional avoidance and resisting the accountability, which is just going to destroy, right? Because Sag is like, no, we want to have the honest communication so we can have the shared growth so we could build a future vision. So Sagittarius is really holding the container in relationships to build that. And the question is, what are you going to do with it? So when we look at the summary for this week, the Taurus New Moon is still calibrating your foundation around stability, your self-worth, and your sustainable alignment, where Saturn entering Aries begins a big shift in a new identity and a leadership cycle focused on self-trust and mature action. So when you look at just these two things, you're noticing that there's going to be more stability around your self-worth and sustainable alignment, while you've got Saturn and Aries kind of shaking things up, going like, who the fuck are you now? How are you stepping out and leading and being powerful and doing that with confidence? Like I always say, kick the fucking door open like the powerhouse that you are and say, bitches, I'm here, and let that be okay. And anybody who can't hold you, fuck them. Right? Like it's okay to not have them around, to not have them holding you. Like we got to start letting go of people who were only here for a reason or a season so we can make space for the lifetime, right? But if you really look at it, nobody's here for a lifetime because they die along the way. That is the lifetime. So it's really like a reason or a season, but we're holding on to people like we know they're going to be here till we're 100, and none of us know that. And then with the Gemini energy activating the visibility and the communication and the networking and the momentum through expression, You have things moving really fast. Remember, we talk about Gemini moving fast. We got some Virgo energy here, which is fast. Virgo's ruled by Mercury as well, but Gemini is air and Virgo is earth. So between the two of them, you've got the communication, the network, and the momentum through expression. But Virgo's like, whoa, refine your energy, refine your systems, calibrate your priorities, stabilize your nervous system so that you're in alignment and you're moving from that energy. And then Sagittarius is like, hey, what are you releasing? What the fuck you're doing? We got future vision. We need to be honest. We got to create some shit. Let's fucking go. But you've got the grounded energy. You've got, Gemini coming in with the ideas. You've got the Taurus coming in with the stability and the consistency. And then you've got Saturn and Aries going, shit is going to change and shift and move. And here's an opportunity for that. But Saturn also says, listen, if you don't learn the lesson this time, the next time I come around and I bring this up, I'm going to be a little bit more in your fucking face with it. You will learn this lesson and you will grow. So when you culminate all of this together, it's being in that stable, consistent energy where you're letting your thoughts go and then bringing them into organization and structure that's empowering, while also having some fun along the way and connecting and having that playfulness and just, it's like a blend of all of the beautiful worlds this week. So keep in mind, Taurus is the overarching energy holding all of this together from the Taurus New Moon. And then as soon as the Sag Full Moon kicks in at the end of the month, then you have Sagittarius being the overarching energy for the 2 weeks that are coming next. So that's your soul astrology energy of the week. If you're ready to dive deep into this, you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you join the Queendom. The link is in the description. It's in the About section. If you're already in the Queendom, it's time to upgrade. We're meeting every single week where we're talking about soul wealth and relationships. We are diving deep into that. I'm giving you powerful, powerful concepts. I usually do like 5 different layers to whatever the topic is, whether it's around the soul camp, the wealth camp, or the love camp. And then I'm giving you an action plan to deploy that. Like, this community is so powerful for you. So click the link, join the Queendom, upgrade to a premium if you're already in the Queendom, because that's where you get invites to the weekly sessions. And I will see you inside.